To incite border conflicts, he planned to slaughter all soldiers under his command during military drills. To carry out this scheme, he specially ordered Yusiona to lead troops for training in the designated zone. Upon receiving the command, Yusiona was instantly jolted with shock and immediately recalled information she had obtained from an artillery comrade one day prior. This wildly unreasonable order kept the meticulous Yusiona awake all night. She even questioned whether she had misinterpreted her artillery comrade's words. She promptly headed for a telephone booth, intending to call her comrade in the artillery unit to verify the details once more. Before the call could connect, she witnessed Colonel Kim leading men out of the base deep in the night. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Yusiona got in her vehicle and tailed them. She unexpectedly followed the convoy straight to Zone B-24, the site scheduled for live fire exercises the next day. She stealthily advanced forward and overheard a earth-shattering conspiracy unfolding. "I've spoken my piece. Carry on with your preparations." Once Colonel Kim and his associate departed, Yusiona sneaked into the warehouse. When she unzipped the bulletproof vests meant to be worn for tomorrow's drill, she discovered they were stuffed full of explosives. Staring at the horrific evidence before her, an overwhelming sense of helplessness washed over her. She realized she and every soldier under her command had been dragged into a power struggle and were marked for certain death. On the morning before the exercise commenced, Colonel Kim's subsequent instructions confirmed every one of Yusione's fears. Park Dowie specifically emphasized that upon arriving at the designated sector, the squad must immediately change into the bulletproof vests stored inside the warehouse. At this moment, the last glimmer of hope faded completely from Yusiona's heart. She knew without a shred of doubt that once her teammates donned those vests, they would meet an unavoidable end. Determined to shield her subordinates, Yusiona issued an abrupt order en route to the training grounds, commanding the entire unit to turn back to their original base at once. She then drove alone toward the target zone. Her plan was to bear all the danger single-handedly, retrieve every explosive-laden bulletproof vest, and return to headquarters to file formal charges against Colonel Kim, hoping to stop the massacre with her own strength. Yet she vastly underestimated Colonel Kim's ruthlessness and meticulous plotting. The colonel had already dispatched men to block the sole road leading back to base. Yusiona was now trapped in a hopeless predicament. Surrender would mean immediate execution, and all incriminating evidence would be destroyed on the spot. Colonel Kim's scheme would proceed unimpeded, and her fellow soldiers would still be killed. Resistance was futile against heavily armed military personnel. With nowhere left to turn, Yusiona steered her vehicle toward the northern border territory. She understood better than anyone what this route signified. Setting foot on this path would brand her a deserter violating military regulations. Yet no other choice remained. Only this route could temporarily shake off Colonel Kim's pursuit, buying her one final chance to deliver proof. Upon reaching the borderline, she pulled out her camera and recorded everything that had transpired. Suppressing crushing grief, she sought out a tree holding a bird's nest, carved a prearranged secret signal agreed upon with Kim Do-ji beneath the tree, and concealed the camera inside the nest. After finishing everything, Yusiona returned to her vehicle and detonated the explosives. Colonel Kim seized the incident to frame her for treason, condemning her to die under false accusations. Mercifully, Providence intervened. Kim Do-ji discovered the hidden camera, granting Yusiona a chance to clear her tarnished name. Kim Do-gi also well understood that orchestrating such a carefully devised massacre and fabricating charges against service members to cover up atrocities could never be the work of Colonel Kim alone. Powerful higher-ups were pulling the strings behind the scenes to exonerate Yusiona and prevent more innocent soldiers from being sacrificed. The mastermind lurking in the shadows had to be exposed, and this corrupt system dismantled entirely. Once he hardened his resolve, Kim Do-gi immediately contacted his revenge squad. Unbeknownst to him, Colonel Kim's men had already captured every squad member, plunging them into mortal danger. Kim Do-ji rushed back just in time, claiming the squad operated as a specialist investigative panel to engage in a standoff against Colonel Kim. yet empty claims would never persuade the ruthless colonel to release them. Just as Colonel Kim prepared to press his attack further, an influential figure backing Kim Do-ji placed a call, stating these operatives were specialists he had assigned to investigate the case, demanding the colonel treat them appropriately. Forced to obey the order from this high-ranking patron, Colonel Kim reluctantly let the group go. The revenge squad reconvened in full strength and launched their investigation without delay. Their adversary commanded armed troops and wielded immense military authority. The opposition maintained a tightly organized network, capable of destroying evidence and twisting truth into lies. Even facing such a formidable foe, the revenge squad refused to retreat an inch. After finalizing their operation blueprint, they resolved to trace the conspiracy upward, starting from Colonel Kim and his garrison. Choi and Park fabricated a pretext claiming they had spotted a bird's nest on an electrical cabinet, requesting temporary power shutdowns across the base via official documentation to get close and gather photographic evidence. Meanwhile, Go-eun hacked into the military's internal database, retrieving volumes of classified documents and command logs. The findings left every member of the squad utterly stunned. The massacre drill halted thanks to Yoo Seon-a's intervention was scheduled to resume. The ringleaders showed no remorse following their initial failure, instead growing far more reckless. New orders mandated another live-fire exercise in the exact same zone, once more planning to sacrifice unsuspecting troops using explosive bulletproof vests to fulfill their agenda. This revelation alerted the squad that time was running desperately short. Failure to intercept the upcoming drill would send another batch of soldiers down the same fatal path, to become pawns sacrificed for power and private gain. Their mission was no longer merely avenging Yoo Seon-a. It extended to stopping a fresh tragedy and rescuing all innocent troops walking straight into the trap. Kim Do-ji formulated an elaborate trap to lure the conspirators out into the open. He instructed Go-eun to carry Yoo Seon-a's camera and pretend to travel overnight to the military tribunal to file charges, excluding Kim Do-ji from the staged maneuver. As Kim Do-ji anticipated, the squad's movements were under constant surveillance across the city. Shortly after Go-eun departed, her vehicle's fuel tank mysteriously emptied. Strangely enough, the service station stood completely deserted, while Go-eun searched for staff members. An assailant emerged from the shadows to ambush her. Every detail unfolded exactly as Kim Do-ji had foreseen. He had long predicted the mastermind would closely monitor all squad activity and constructed this trap to bait the villains into revealing themselves. As planned, Kim Do-ji intentionally held back, allowing the attackers to seize the camera. This represented only the opening move in his elaborate scheme. When Kim Do-ji raced forward to confront the culprits, he was met with a devastating shock. The hidden architect behind all crimes was none other than General Oh, Kim Do-ji's former superior officer. The name unearthed the heaviest chapter buried in Kim Do-ji's past. Years earlier, when Kim Do-ji still served in the military, General Oh had issued him an order demanding he sacrifice his squad members to complete an inhumane covert operation. Under General Oh's arrangement, obeying the command would guarantee Kim Do-gi rapid promotions and a prosperous career. Kim Do-gi, however, clung firmly to his principles, refusing to trade his comrades' lives for personal advancement. Though he outwardly accepted the assignment, he immediately announced indefinite mission suspension, devoting every effort to protect every member of his unit. His refusal to follow orders led to his dishonorable discharge, bringing his military career to an abrupt end. From a real-world perspective worthy of reflection, this story delivers a vital lesson for daily life. We must remain vigilant at all times and never follow authority blindly. When confronted with unreasonable demands and coercive unspoken rules from superiors, avoid surrendering easily and summon the courage to refuse when necessary to prevent falling into traps laid by others. Further investigation carried out by Go-eun uncovered critical information. General Oh no longer held active senior military authority. He had previously been stripped of rank and discharged from service for severe disciplinary violations. On the surface, he led a quiet rural life raising chickens and farming, appearing fully withdrawn from power circles. Yet beneath this harmless facade, he never abandoned his hunger for control. Even without official military status, he continued manipulating military affairs secretly through decades of cultivated loyal subordinates. What General O remained unaware of was that every detail of his conspiracy had been uncovered by the Revenge Squad, who had crafted an exhaustive retaliation plan. A heart-stopping reckoning for justice was about to unfold. On the night scheduled for the drill, Colonel Kim issued orders once more for troops to advance to the designated training sector, again requiring soldiers to change into explosive-laden bulletproof vests immediately upon arrival. To guarantee flawless execution of the plot, the retired General O personally oversaw operations within the command center, consumed by madness. Beyond rigging the deadly vests for troops, he deployed 4 tanks, planning to launch live artillery fire once soldiers reached the zone, ensuring 0 survivors among the unit. Soon the troops sent to their deaths arrived at the designated area and changed into the booby-trapped vests per command. Everything was set for slaughter. Yet when the predetermined firing time arrived, not a single artillery blast echoed across the field. The commanding officer demanded answers from the tank crews, only to be informed firing could not commence, as masses of civilians had suddenly entered the target zone. Regulations strictly prohibited live military fire targeting civilians, and all attacks must cease immediately upon civilian intrusion. This formed the first phase of Kim Do-ji's carefully orchestrated plan, using civilian presence to force General O to pause the operation and buy precious time for subsequent action. Yet General O, blinded by ambition, had lost all rationality. Even witnessing civilians enter the firing range, he insisted on ordering artillery fire, regardless. Fortunately, a fellow officer within the command staff retained his conscience and blocked this insane directive. "Are you acting completely without sense?" The gunner hesitated to activate the firing sequence. Impatient General O strode forward and slammed the launch button himself. He never anticipated Kim Do-ji's thorough countermeasures. Park Sang-sik had infiltrated the tanks in advance and replaced all live ammunition with celebratory fireworks. As bursts of light erupted across the sky, the Revenge Squad stepped forward alongside survivors they had aided in previous missions. These individuals came from all walks of life, each scarred by injustice and rescued by the squad's intervention. They volunteered to appear here, standing for justice in their own way, becoming vital forces dismantling the conspiracy. Inside the command center, General O descended into complete frenzy. He drove all his loyal subordinates out of the room and repeatedly hammered the firing button in desperation. Each press merely unleashed more fireworks above the field, turning him into an unwitting hype man for an open-air celebration. As fireworks illuminated the night sky, General O crumpled defeated into his chair, his delusions thoroughly shattered. Other high-ranking military officials began abandoning the scene, scheming over how to evade accountability. Sensing inevitable defeat, the cunning General O slipped out through the rear exit of the command room. Still unrepentant in flight, he spotted the Revenge Squad's vehicle and succumbed to violent rage, deliberately ramming Choi's automobile. Miraculously, no one inside sustained fatal injuries. The deranged general continued firing wildly, striking Go-eun with a grazing bullet. Even at this stage, General O refused to acknowledge wrongdoing, blaming the Revenge Squad for ruining what he deluded himself into believing was a national salvation mission. When Representative Jang confronted him, General O raised his firearm intent on eliminating every witness. Kim Do-ji stepped forward to shield the group and took multiple bullet wounds. Believing Kim Do-ji incapable of resistance, General O approached to lecture him. Despite critical injuries, Kim Do-ji refused to surrender, snatching the pistol and counterattacking General O. In the struggle, both men tumbled off a cliff, their fates unknown. Sometime afterward, Go-eun hurried toward work while talking on the phone, about to collide with a bicycle, when a young man rushed out and pulled her to safety. Staring at his vaguely familiar features, Go-eun froze briefly before offering her gratitude. The young man replied politely. Then each continued toward their workplace. After walking several steps, the young man glanced back thoughtfully toward Go-eun. He also recognized an air of familiarity about the young woman, yet could not recall where they had crossed paths before. Pressed for time to reach work, he could only hope their paths might cross again on this road.